Hey guys, so a bit of a channel update vlog. First of all, we're going to do the channel update here on March 7th, 2023. It is 4:10 in the afternoon. I know I usually try to do stuff a lot earlier than this, but of course I was resting. I had to get up early to open up the gate, the back gate for the gardener because he didn't come yesterday. He usually comes on the first and third Monday of the month. He didn't come yesterday because apparently he left some tools in Turlock, so that didn't help him out in the long run. So he had to reschedule for today, and that's what's going. And that's why basically I didn't have a chance to really do any videos up until this point. The other reason, of course, is my computer. Like I'm sure a lot of your computers, laptops, PCs. I guess you could say it was going through its own personal update or was catching up with things, Basically, it was running fine, but it was also, like I said, from an internet perspective, catching up on a lot of stuff. And I think it's mostly not just Windows, like, sending little updates here and there to be ready to be unleashed on the regular monthly update that Windows does with Windows 10 and 11 and all that. But I think it's also HP, Hewlett Packard, that sends these updates as well, because you could just sense it. When you go and check the if it's doing a virus update, and to see whether or not that's the cause of it, or if it's doing an update like a virus patch update, whatever, protection update, or if you're checking to see if maybe it overrid the pausing of the monthly updates or whatever, or if it's in the process of doing an update, usually you'll get some kind of an answer. And if you don't get any answer, then that usually will lead you to believe that it's the manufacturer of the PC, the laptop itself, in this case Hewlett Packard, that's sending the information as well. So that's kind of why also I was not uploading any videos at the time. Like I said, I was resting. I worked yesterday and such, and I'll get into that in the vlog portion of this. But first of all, I want to talk about what's going on channel update wise, so you guys can be aware of what's happening. So today, as you can tell, I am off. Tomorrow I'm off as well, but the only difference tomorrow is my mom is also going to be off. She asked for tomorrow and Thursday off. The reason being is because my second oldest sister, as a bit of a birthday present to herself and a bit of an early Mother's Day gift to herself, our older sister, as well as my mom, she basically purchased tickets to go see Amy Grant at the Gallo Center in Modesto, California. So because of that, my mom requested, when she found out about this from my second oldest sister, my mom requested tomorrow and the following day off. The reason she requested Thursday off is because the concert starts at 7:30 and it might run for about 2 hours at most, and that by the time she gets home, it might almost be, close to midnight or something like that. Because one of the things they're going to have to do, one of the things they got to do is drop my second oldest sister, back off at her house. And knowing how things run in this family, they might visit for a little bit. So, she's pretty much not taking any chances and deciding, I'm going to hold off on going back to work until Friday. So she's essentially just working today. She worked yesterday and she's going to work Friday. So it's basically about 3 days. And I don't blame her either, because again, she works in Livermore for Head Start programming, Cape Head Start, and all that. She basically works for one of their schools, one of their outlets in Livermore. So yeah, she's not taking any chances. I don't think I blame her. I don't think you can blame her either. So what that means for me tomorrow is, depending on when she leaves, which I would project is going to probably be around 3 o'clock, 3:30, because she's got to go to my older sister's and meet up with her there to go to Modesto. Basically, what I'm looking at for tomorrow, knowing she's going to be home until that time, is I'm going to have to wait like till around this time frame to do anything, like video wise and all that, live stream wise and stuff if I choose to do so. So yeah, again, my mom's going to be off tomorrow. She's going to be here up until maybe 3 o'clock, 3:30. Then she's going to go meet with my sister, my older sister, at her house to go from there to Modesto and, have lunch, or not lunch, well, kind of a lunch, kind of an early dinner, late lunch, if you will, with our other sister, and then go to the Gallo Center to watch Amy Grant for about a couple of hours, and then maybe visit back at my second older sister's house, and then come home. The only thing I think my mom's going to probably be concerned about, even though she hasn't said it, is the fact that she may have to be the one that drives. And I'm not talking, drive to Modesto and everything with my older sister, like she's picking her up or anything. No. My mom, she has this kind of concern that, when you kind of drink just a little much, not too much, but just enough to where, let's say, your judgment might be a tiny bit off or something, she kind of gets this concern of, great, now I'm going to have to be the one that gets behind the wheel and drives home. So yeah, she obviously in the back of my mind, even though she hasn't said anything yet or even implied about that, in the back of her mind, I think she's kind of mentally getting herself ready for that moment. That's what's going on there. But, again, what this has to do with the channel is if I'm going to do any videos like what I'm doing now around 4:16 p.m. in the afternoon, I'm going to have to wait till she leaves. That's about it. I'm going to have to wait till she leaves, to do anything. And usually, it's kind of a fun deal, if you will, to kind of like wait until she goes off and, spends time with my sisters and my niece sometimes, but it's just mainly my sisters. Usually it's kind of fun because that way, you still kind of get the place to yourself and everything and all that. You still get to have a little bit of freedom and everything to do what you want. But, as well as the fact that, it's kind of like a half and half kind of deal. It's like half of the day is like a weekend, like a Saturday or a Sunday, where you're both at home, relaxing, doing your thing. And the other half is like when one of you is not there and you have the place to yourself. And you can pretty much do a lot more, like you got more freedom. And I know my mom understands that better than anybody, because when I go to work, like I'll be going to work on Thursday, she'll be using that day to rest up from the night before, going to the concert. She's going to be able to rest up from the night before, as well as, get her thoughts together, get herself, ready and raring to go for work on Friday. So, as well as, she'll have a little bit more freedom to do what she wants. Like, she'll turn on one of our devices, like like this baby here, she'll turn that on, or she'll plug in her Google one, and she'll say, hey, play Spotify, play da-da-da, and she'll just sing to it and all that, or she'll just spend time reading, or even watching a movie or whatever. So, yeah. She understands what it's like, to be in my position to where, hey, the other person that I live with is not here, so I have a little bit more freedom to do what I want, clean, do some cleaning, listen to music, read books without, worrying about, things here and there. But again, like I said, what that has to do with this channel is I have to basically wait until she leaves on a day that I typically work for, a little bit of freedom to be, given, if you will. Now, what's interesting, though, about my schedule, upcoming, from what I can tell, what's interesting about it is basically, like I said, tomorrow I'm off, and then I'm off on Friday. I will be off on Friday when she goes back. But then what's interesting is come, Monday and Tuesday, now, because normally I'm off on Sunday. I'm off on Sunday. That's normally what's going to happen. That normally happens, I should say. So I'm off on Sundays. But I'm also going to be off Monday and Tuesday. But then I work into the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, which means I'm going to have to schedule some Lyft rides on both Thursday and both Wednesday, I should say, and Thursday because they need help there. And again, I have no problem doing that if it needs to be done. I have no problem doing that whatsoever. The only issue is that the buses have changed a little bit, and I'll get into that in the next portion of this, but because I'm going to chapter this, I'm going to divide this into chapters. But anyway, yeah. I have to work on a week from Wednesday and a week from Thursday, late into the afternoon, basically mid portion of the afternoon into the evening, and then maybe take Lyft home. Well, more than likely take Lyft home, and get back here. That's basically about how I'm going to do it. And again, like I said, my schedule, I think it's next Wednesday. I got to double check. No, wait a minute. Is it next Wednesday? I don't know. I got to check, but I know that one of the days, I think it might be Thursday and Friday. I'm not really sure. It might be Thursday and Friday. I'm not really sure. But I do know that one of those 2 days, or both of those 2 days, I know one of them is a Thursday, but I know both of those 2 days I have to work, up until about the 7:30, 7:45 range from when I go in, which is around like, let's say 2:30 and 3:30 basically. That's essentially the situation right there. But again, I don't know if it also includes Wednesday or not. I gotta look. I know I work on a Saturday, and that's not an issue whatsoever there. But still, I have to look because I think I have another additional day off in between. So I don't know if it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that I have off, or it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then I work Wednesday and Thursday and Friday off. Again, I have to look and everything on that situation, but I think it might be Wednesday I have off. Again, I don't know. I'll have to double check on that. But anyway, like I said, as far as the channel goes, as far as when tomorrow comes around, if I'm going to do anything, it'll be later in the afternoon. If I do anything like before then, it might just be like live streaming of, some of my PS4 games or something like that. And that's about it. That'll be all that I do. But like on camera stuff, live streaming, like topics on my mind, live streams and all that, that won't be until a little later on, until after she leaves. And then I'll be able to do something, in between that time frame. I'm looking at the fact that if I was to go by hours and everything, I would say by the time she leaves, which could be, I would say, between 3:30 and 4 at the latest. 3:30 and 4 at the latest. I would say that I'm going to have the house to myself, let's see, 3:30 to 4 at the latest. So if I was to go at 4 at the latest, because that might be another time she leaves as well. 'Cause the one thing about my mom is she likes, like anybody anyway, the one thing about my mom, like anybody out there, is she likes to not be in a rush. She likes to take her time, despite the fact that she might have a ride with somebody else. She likes to kind of take her time and, getting herself ready, getting ready to go and all that. So, anyway, like I said, let's look at 4 o'clock at the latest as to when she would leave. I'm looking at 4 to 7, which is like 3 hours, 8, which is 4, 9, which is 5, 10, which is 6, 11, which is 7, So I would say mostly I'll have the house to myself for about almost 7 to 8 hours at the latest. 8 hours being the latest, 7 hours being probably the earliest. Because, again, I've got a feeling they're going to drop my sister off at her apartment. I mean, not her apartment, but at her house. They're going to drop her off, unless her husband, my brother-in-law, comes and gets her. And then my older sister and my mom just go back to Patterson from there. Unless that happens, then like I said, I'm looking at, mostly maybe 7 to 8 hours at the latest. If I was to put an earlier time, like the earliest, I would have the house up till starting tomorrow after my mom leaves for the concert. I would say the earliest I would say I have it, or have it till, would be until about 10:30 or 10 o'clock. 10:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30 at the earliest is when she would come back. 11:30 to between 11 and between 11:30 being the exact time, I think, and the latest outside of that would be midnight, and that's about it. But I don't think my mom wants to come home after midnight. But again, it all depends on what they do, afterwards. Either my brother-in-law comes and gets my second older sister and takes her home, or they go and take her by themselves and they visit for a little bit. We'll have to see. We will have to see on that. But the thing is, tomorrow I'm going to be, like I say, having to wait till she leaves between 3:30, most likely 3:30, at being the exact time, or even 4 at the latest, before I do anything. And like I said, the time frame from when I would be having this house to myself would be between, I would say, 6.5 to 8 hours at the latest, like between 10:30 at the earliest and 12 midnight at the latest, and that's about it. And the 11 o'clock hour being right in the middle as like the exact time, like between 11 and 11:30, I would see her showing back up. But something like that. But it'd be something like that in between. Anyway, like I said, that's something I have to work around. And then, like I said, Friday I'm off. That would be the Friday she goes back to work. And then the following week, like I said, I'm going to have, along with Sunday, I'm going to have Monday and Tuesday off, possibly Wednesday. I got to look. It's either Wednesday or Friday I'll have off, in addition to Monday and Tuesday. And as far as Sunday goes, I will be off, but I won't be able to do any content on that day unless I do something the day before when I get home and upload it for a Sunday broadcast. And the reason for that is right now, according to my mom, we have some things planned out for Sunday to celebrate my second older sister's birthday. Her birthday was on the 1st. And like I said, this Amy Grant concert that she's going to, along with my mom and my older sister, as a birthday gift to herself and an early Mother's Day gift to them, basically we're going to be doing something for her on Sunday. Apparently, I don't know where it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be at their house. I don't know if it's going to be at a restaurant. I don't know. All I know is we are going to be doing something for her on Sunday. So, because we didn't really get to come together as a family to celebrate something for her on her actual birthday, because that was on a weekday, and of course, the weather didn't cooperate this past Sunday, or 2 days ago, so we're going to basically work around that to try to do something on this Sunday, weather permitting. And the weather, from what I can tell right now, it may be rainy, but I don't think it should be too bad or anything. Because, what I'm looking at here, if I can bring it up, is right now it says Saturday, 40% chance of rain. Now, usually when it goes down at that, usually when it's at that, like it's below 50%, you're going to get some rain, but not too much. Like it may change a little bit from less to maybe more or something like that. But right now it's at 40%, so I don't think we have anything to worry about come Sunday, hopefully. But anyway, like I said, I am going to be off on Sunday, but like I mentioned, I'm not going to be able to upload anything on that day. So what I will be doing maybe the day before when I get back home, and after I get myself rearranged back to relaxation, I'm going to upload something, maybe that night, maybe do a recording or a live stream that I'm going to make like maybe private, maybe unlisted, and then maybe upload it for later that day. All depending on what happens. Or if I do any videos, depending on when I get to my job site or when I get dropped off here, I'll try to do something real quick as I'm walking back home. That's basically what's going on. That's basically going on there for this weekend. As far as like my channel goes, and then like I said, Monday and Tuesday, and possibly Wednesday or Friday afterwards throughout that week, depending on my schedule, I will be off. I will be off on Monday and Tuesday. That's a definite. Wednesday and Friday, I got to double check. I think it's one of those days as well. But in between the 2 days that I've noted after Sunday, I will have plenty of time to do what I have to do. Now, unless my mom's going to be off this week because of spring break, that would be something else. But I don't think she's going to be off. I don't think she'll be off for spring break until at least the end of March, maybe the beginning of April. Well, we will see. But yeah, I'm going to have Monday and Tuesday after Sunday off, and maybe even Wednesday go along with it. But as far as what's going on with the channel, as you've seen, I've been uploading a lot of videos myself. I've been uploading them. I've been doing audios and stuff. And sometimes when I've uploaded them, you noticed, you might notice that they get premiered at times that typically I'm on the bus going to work. And the reason they premiere, or they're set to premiere at those times, is because I use my phone to basically edit the title, descriptions and all that, because I don't have time here at home to do it because I got to go to work. So because I don't have time here, home to do it before I got to go to work, that kind of becomes an issue, if you will. That kind of becomes a major issue, when it comes to trying to provide content for this channel. Now, the advantage about the 2 days that I work later in the afternoon is, due to the fact that the bus schedule has changed, and I'll get into that in a moment, is I'll have plenty of time. Like if I get up early and everything after she leaves, I have mostly the whole day to myself before I have to, half the day to myself, I should say, to do these kind of things and provide you with content without having to hurry myself up or anything. So, hopefully I'll be able to get some things out for you on those days that I'll be working late, or going into work late, before, I have to leave. So hopefully I'll get something out to you guys around that time frame. And then, like I said, Wednesday or Friday, one of those 2 days that I'm off, I'm definitely like Monday and Tuesday, and tomorrow and Friday this week, I'll be able to provide you guys with something as well. Be able to provide you guys with something as well. And again, a lot of the stuff, I've been uploading. Like I said, sometimes I'll be editing the descriptions on my phone here so you guys can, at least have something to watch even when I'm at work. It'll premiere and you guys will have something to enjoy at that time. As far as fan vids and stuff go, I know I did the Valentine's Day one recently, and I do have plans to do another one. So be on the lookout for that. The next one may not be like a multi-fan vid, like it's different, shows being represented. Instead, it might be singular. So keep on the lookout for that. You'll probably get a kick out of what you see there. Outside of that, I do plan to do more live streams. I do apologize sometimes when I have to, or when it looks like when you're watching my CAW league, it feels like, something's a little off. Like, okay, it's like, a match suddenly just doing mid-match or doing mid-move or whatever. It's like suddenly the move just skips a few seconds and all that. The reason for that is mostly I'm either pausing the game because my mom needs help or something like that, or she's calling me for dinner. Or what happens is I have to restart the game and everything, or restart the match because it freezes. It freezes and everything, so I have to, kind of restart the match. Like the whole Nicole Tangle match, the Iron Woman match I put out there for 30 minutes, the 30-minute Iron Woman match I put out between Nicole and Tangle. You probably noticed that it didn't have no entrances. It's because it took me 3 to 4 times to finally get that match, working right. Because every time, Tangle would, I guess you could say, well, not Tangle, but Nicole would come off the top rope or the middle rope. All of a sudden there'd be a glitch and it would freeze. It would freeze, and Nicole would end up landing face first on the mat. So I was like, this is not working. So finally I was able to figure out, okay, I cannot go to the top rope, especially if Tangle has a finisher, a catching finisher, on the ready. So I cannot do the top rope or anything like that because the game will glitch. So hopefully they fix that in the new game. But anyway, you might notice that sometimes, the matches start like that, or, the pauses in between. It's all because of those certain scenarios. But I do plan to put more content out as we get, some more time, like tomorrow maybe, or even Friday. I do plan to put more stuff out over time. Outside of that, again, I'm still going to do live streams and everything. I might do more tier lists and all that. Might still just do, unscripted, discussions, which is my forte, on things. And really, that's about it. So, what it really boils down to is, the scheduling and how, certain things kind of changing a little bit because of certain reasons and all that, and working around that, as time goes on. But that's all I'm going to say for the channel update. So, on this portion of the video, which is the channel update, be on the lookout for a lot of what I've mentioned and everything. Now, let's get on to the vlog portion of this video. Okay, so yeah, I was just checking my computer. It's doing the whole, when it goes into stealth mode, basically like it's still working and everything, but it kind of goes into like silent mode, kind of the screen goes off, and then you have to, bring it back up with the mouse, and then suddenly it says, oh, I'm not responding right now on the browser because, it's the internet's getting information and all that. And like I said, I think it's more Hewlett Packard sometimes, and I think just Windows, so, whatever. Thank God it's working fine. It's just one of those situations where it gets a little frustrating, but outside of that, I will say this. This past week, of course, at work, it was all right. I mean, it's no big deal and everything. It was busy on Saturday, of course, but not too bad. But what's interesting, though, about this past week was this was, as I've been alluding to, this was the last week that the bus schedule took the route that it normally would take over the past several years. Because as of this past Sunday, 2 days ago, that all changed. Because now the bus is going a different route, and Sundays are now included. And basically what I mean by that is, because it took me a bit to figure this out. But apparently the bus schedule is, well, one thing I did understand is it's going to be every hour. It's like every 60 minutes. But what really caught me off guard a little bit is the bus that I would take, home, from work, it's still viable. It's still an option, but there's a catch. You see, we have a bus stop. Basically. We have basically a bus stop. It's just shaking something off my sandal there. We have a bus stop in front of my job, okay? We have a bus stop in front of my job. It's actually in front of El Pollo Loco, if you will. And it looks like my part of my sandal is coming off there. But like I said, we have a bus stop that's in front of El Pollo Loco. Well, actually, it's kind of like, it's in front of it, but it's almost like in between, but more in front of El Pollo Loco than McDonald's. But we have one there that allows me to get off and go straight to my job. Well, that's kind of not going to really be the case. Let me explain. You see, from now on, depending on the situation, I'm either going to have to switch buses or stay on the same bus. And from what I understand, it says stay on vehicle. So obviously, and that's what I read on the transit app, like stay on the vehicle, because apparently the 45 that picks me up in the morning, depending on when I work, like I said, will either make me get off at the transit center, not off on, but off on, I was trying to think of what I was going to say there. But it will make me get off on, at the transit center in Turlock, and then go from there to either board another bus to go to work, or it will have me remain on the bus. I'm just checking my thing here. Okay. I don't know why it does those little updates and stuff by HP, but anyway. Well, actually I do, and I thank the Lord for that. But anyway, getting back on topic. Getting back on topic. Essentially, I don't know if it's going to have me remain on the bus, or it's going to have me get off the bus, because yesterday when I took it for the first time, the new route, we got to Turlock. I wasn't sure what was going on, so I thought, okay, I'm going to get off and go on to the next bus, because I saw a bus there. I saw another start bus, S bus, if you will, ride the S bus, if you will, and all of a sudden, I'm getting off, but then the LED signs that they have in front of the buses on the side of the bus switch over from 45 to 10. And from what I read online, and through the app here on my phone, is the 10 is what takes me to my job. So I go like, oh, wait a minute, you're the 10 now? And they say, oh, yeah, it was 10. So I'm like, okay, fine. I get back on the bus because I wasn't sure. But then here's what gets interesting. So, while I'm at work, and yeah, it was kind of busy yesterday, not too much, kind of like moderate, first Monday of the month, so it's going to be a little busy, and we could have used more help, there's no denying that. Anyway, long story short, during my, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say break times, but during the slow times, I would check my phone. Like anybody does. I've seen even my TLs do it, my team leaders do it. And basically, I was checking it, and I looked, and I'm thinking, okay, something just doesn't seem right. It's like, okay, how am I supposed to get home from this area, right? And then suddenly, I notice, that it says for the 45, that the 5:30 bus, which is, because again, it's going by every hour, the 5:30 to 5:40 bus is the last bus of the day. And I look at that and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Don't they normally go into the evening? Not really, not anymore. Because apparently the 5:30 bus, the 5:30, 5:40 bus is the last one. It is the last one of the day, and you got to make sure you get it, or else you're going to be spending a lot of money on Lyft, and that's not something I think a lot of people want to look into. Spending money on Lyft and such. I don't think anybody is going to want to look into doing that. Period, because that's a lot of money. Even if you schedule it like at the last minute, that's still a lot of money. Money sometimes you don't have. So I looked at that and I'm like, wait a minute. I get off at 5:30. I'm not going to make it. And there's no other buses that go in that direction. None. They mostly go to Modesto. Or they go to, Ceres or Keys or in between, if you will. So I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't work. So yesterday, I had to let 2 team leads know. One of them told me to adjust my availability, my schedule, so I'm going to have to do that. But I let 2 team leads know, and I'm going to let the other one know maybe later on via email or text, that I need to change my availability, because the only way I'm going to be able to get home from work is either get off at 4:15 so that I grab the 4:30 S bus, the 15, believe it or not, that's what it's called, the 15, coming from Modesto, going to the transit center. That is one option, basically, that I'll have to take to get home. Or I have to work to 5:45 and then take the Turlock Transit number 2 bus to the transit center. That's about it. Those are basically the likely 2 options I have. So by default, when you really look at this and you get down to it, basically, right now, the one I take is free up until about, I think, the 17th or 18th, which is the longest they've gone. And Turlock Transit won't be free till next week. So, okay, fine, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. But, sorry about that, guys. My phone has a certain recording limit, if you will. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying. Right now, the S is free. The Stanislaus County bus that I take is free. Well, the Turlock Transit one still is, $2 a ride or $10 for a week. Now, next week, Turlock will be free. So I'll have 2 free ways of getting to work back and forth. At least for one day, if you will. Because apparently, as I mentioned, next week, I think it's Wednesday and Thursday, I believe. I don't know about Friday, but I think it's Wednesday and Thursday. I gotta work, or it's Thursday or Friday, one of the two. I gotta work basically up until 7:45. So what that means is those are the 2 days I gotta take Lyft to essentially get home from, or to get home from work with, hopefully. That is if nothing screws up, if you will. But, be that as it may, if you will, that I could potentially change that. So what I'm probably going to have to do is post my shift and see what happens from there, or at least get it readjusted to what's during the day. But right now, next week will hopefully be the only 2 days I have to do 7:30. But then again, I did say open when I, applied for the job, and, what are you going to do, right? But we'll see what happens. Again, I got to change the availability, and hopefully I'll be able to do it where it's understanding of, okay, you got to get off at this time. Because, like I said, I think I said this before my recording limit came up. The schedule right now when it comes to the S, especially the one I take home, is the 45, which used to be 45 East and 45 West. The 45 in general now is just, it's just a 12-hour bus. And what that means is it starts around 5:30, 5:40 in the morning, and then ends and concludes around 5:30, 5:40 in the afternoon. Basically, it starts at the Turlock Transit Center at that time, and then its last pickup for the day is 12 hours later. And I look at that, and I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work for not just me, but for a lot of people, because a lot of people in Patterson, a lot of people here in Newman, a lot of people in Crow's Landing, and abroad, they rely on the bus to get them from work to home, especially if they work late at night. So I think that's going to be one thing that Stanislaus County, the S, if you will, is going to have to readjust with the 45. They're going to have to extend the hours just by a bit more. Like, okay, these people work till this time, I'm going to have to do this. So they're going to have to extend it by a bit more and not just have the 5:30 be, the last run, because, just because of the fact that Newman and Patterson and Crow's Landing are not as big and significant as Turlock or Modesto, doesn't mean you should ignore them, whatsoever. But yeah, I'm going to have to readjust my schedule to the point that I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to work to the point of either getting off at 4:15 or 4:45, because that gives me plenty of time, in between to do some shopping if I have to do some shopping real quickly or whatever. It's going to give me time in between. But again, it's just one of those scenarios to where when things change, you got to adjust yourself and change with it. That's the thing here. And like I said, or like I was trying to say before my recording limit came up, basically, long story short, yesterday I was working till 5:30. And because of this new change, I realized that I'm not going to make it home if I don't, get off. I mean, yes, I could have took Lyft, but financially at that moment, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't want to double my price with Lyft, because Lyft usually waits about a day or two after the initial pickup of you and your ride of you. They usually wait about a day or two before they charge you. So today they charged me for my ride, and I didn't have enough to cover it, but it still got covered. Excuse me. Thankfully, I had enough to cover the possible overdraft that may come with, the situation. Thankfully, I was able to cover that, with daily pay. The thing is, like I said, I didn't want to double that chance because I don't know how much it was going to be. I mean, I even did look when I was on the Turlock Transit heading to the Turlock. When I was on the Turlock bus heading to the Turlock Transit bus, or station, I should say, not the bus, but when I was on the Turlock Transit bus heading to the Turlock Transit station, while I was going to transfer over to the 45. When I was on there, I looked up exactly how much it would have been, and it would have cost me literally from that area, that region alone, about $25, $26. And I combined that with the 40 that I was already charged, you're looking at $60. Then that's not good. That's not good whatsoever. So initially I had to, I think I mentioned this before my recording limit came up. I told a couple of my team leaders. One of them told me to change my availability, which isn't a problem. But I told one of the people they put in charge of self-checkout, which is kind of like under their watch. I told them basically, look, this is what's going on, and, I have to leave, or else I wouldn't have no other means of getting there. So I left. What I did what I did before I left is in not my best handwriting, if you will, because I'm not, very good at handwriting. I put on 2 notes to the team leader that does the scheduling. Hey, I had to leave early. This is why, and everything, and I need to change to 4:14, 4:45. Because if I get off at 4:15, I have enough time maybe to do some kind of shopping, not much, and then get out the door, go across the street, catch the 15, that's really what it is, the Stanislaus County Bus 15, go to the, go to the transit station, and then maybe get off the bus and transfer over to another bus, or wait for that driver to finish their meal. Because the vibe I'm probably getting is that the 15 changes over to 45, just like the 45 changed over to the 10. Because yesterday when I wrote it, like I mentioned, I think before my recording limit came up, when I was writing it yesterday, the 45 became the 10. And I remember looking on the app, if you will, the transit app, it said stay on bus. So I'm thinking, why is it saying stay on vehicle? And then of course when it switched over, I was like, oh, that's why, because it's still going to take me to my destination. It's just that from then on in, it's going to go and become the 10, and then I think by default becomes the 15 coming back or something like that. Anyway, that was a situation there to why I had to leave early, and normally I don't do that much. I mean, if I do leave early, it's by like 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most, or less than 10 minutes, maybe 9 minutes early or something like that, 8 minutes early, and they don't really say anything. I mean, they will ask me, but, they will ask me the situation, and I tell them, this is what happened. So, and I think basically what they told me is it's on people like the person that's closing or the person that they put in charge of self-checkout. They usually say that's the person that's going to be responsible for letting you out because of, the situation. Now I told myself this yesterday, and I prayed about it to God. My mom prayed about it with me, as well when I got home. I thought about this as well, and God knows the truth, and God knows whether or not it's true to some point. God knows whether or not it's true to some point. That, the TLs have probably left earlier than scheduled. Other people have left earlier than scheduled, sometimes because they got appointments, they're sick, or they got to get to school and everything, and they need to get there at a certain time. So, again, God knows the truth, knows the truth of some of that. And, and I think anybody watching this probably has seen it too. That, people will leave earlier than expected because of reasons. And this was a reason. I had no other way to get home. I didn't. On occasions, like with next week, if nothing changes, on occasions I will have to take Lyft. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. But the issue is the bus doesn't leave until the last bus heading home, leaves at 5:30 from the transit center. That's how it's pretty much worked itself out. And like I said, I don't think that's gonna. And I think I mentioned this. I don't know, but I don't think that's gonna sit with anybody that lives here in the Newman area, lives in the Patterson area, or the Crow's Landing area, or abroad, because a lot of people have relied on the bus late at night. At 6, like around 5:26, 7:11, if you will. They've relied on the bus to come get them and take them home. Now that it's changed, that that's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to rely on that. They're going to have to basically tell their job the same thing. Like, yeah, the only way I'm going to be able to get home now, from here, is that I need to readjust my schedule to earlier. And that's not going to sit well with employees. Now, thankfully, I'm not saying that negativity will come out of it. It won't. Because a lot of jobs are understanding, especially if you're truthful and upfront with them, about the situation. So to me, I know I'm going to be okay. They may talk to me, and that's fine, but I know I'm going to be okay. Because honestly, this is the first time I've really left early, earlier than usual, because I was scheduled at 5:30. And like I said, the bus, it don't run after 5:30 anymore. When it goes, when it goes in the direction of my home, it doesn't. So what I got to do, like I said, is adjust my availability to the point that, hey, you can only have me between 4:15 or 4:45 because I got to catch the bus. If I don't catch the bus, I'm going to be spending a lot of money unnecessarily, on Lyft. Now, if I schedule Lyft like at the last second or last moment, then fine, that's not a problem. It may not cost much depending on the scenario or the situation, but it will. It inevitably will, in my opinion. It will. But hopefully I don't have to, deal with that. I don't have to deal with that kind of a situation. And I'm sure my job will understand. Because when I used to work at Walmart, I had to adjust my schedule too after we moved here. Because I wasn't able to do late night shifts anymore and all that. So I have to now readjust it again here at Target because, the bus basically decides, yeah, we're not going to stop in front of the, El Pollo Loco anymore to pick you up from work or anything like that or anybody else. We're just going to have you go across the street to the stop in, the bus stop in front of Chili's, have you take a 4:30 or a 5 o'clock bus to the transit center, go from there, then to home, and by the way, that's going to be the last one for the day. That doesn't help out. That doesn't. Now, here's what's interesting. Saturday, I think I have to work to 4:45 or 7. I got to look at my schedule for Saturday. But if it's a 5:45 deal, then I know I'm going to have to take Lyft. I just know it. And I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm going to have to. And until I get this worked out, that might be a scenario to once in a while, I got to do Lyft. I have to do Lyft once in a while, and I'm not looking forward to it. But hopefully that won't be for a while. Hopefully I'll be able to get in there before the week is out and say, look, this is what needs to be done. I need to get this adjusted. And that's what I'm probably going to have to do. But, here's the thing. Financially, basically, when you get down to it, and of course my computer decides to go into load mode again. Hold on. Where was I? Oh, sorry guys. My computer decides to go into, like I said, the screen blank mode. You turn it back on. It says not responding because your location currently in use, stuff like that. It's fine. It's okay. It just does that at times. I'm sure it does it to you too. But anyway, like I was saying, I have to get my job availability changed up so that way I get off at between 4:15 and 4:45. That's the best I look at. Because, like I was saying, I know on occasions there might be situations where I have to take Lyft and I'm not looking forward to it. it really ain't. But if it has to happen, it has to happen. I'm not saying that it's not a bad thing. It's just the expense is what really drives it home. Lyft and Uber are not very cheap, especially if you schedule them in advance or at the last second or whatever. They're not very cheap. But like I said, hopefully things will get better and they will be, adjusted. The thing is though, basically, like I said with the bus, is it's not going to be, it's not going to, I think in the long run what's going to happen is some of these decisions are going to change to where the 45 is going to probably eventually get an extra hour or two tacked onto it, because now a lot of people are going to like, the fact that, wait a minute, we can't get home really, unless we take Lyft and Uber, because even they're going to be like, over time, that's going to be too expensive. And for me, when I look at the fact that when you compare what I'd be paying for a week pass on both buses, both the Turlock Transit and the S bus, when you compare it, basically they equal out to $20 for a whole week. That essentially, if you schedule a Lyft or an Uber at the last moment, is essentially about, the same or a little bit more. And that's something that I don't think anybody, would want to really think about. And I'm sure a lot of people will be like, well, if you compare the two, which one would be the better choice, And so to me, hopefully things will be okay. I believe they will. I believe they will be okay because, like I said, I know they might talk to me and everything, but, I do plan to let them know via email and text maybe that, this is what happened and this is what's got to change in a little bit because, again, the 5:30 bus, which again to me does make no sense, is the last bus of the evening. It just does not make any sense. Just because, like I said, we live here in Patterson or here in Newman, Patterson, Crow's Landing, and abroad, doesn't mean we shouldn't be, treated any less, So hopefully that will change over time. But right now the benefit about the bus schedule is, with the S, I can ride for free. The Turlock Transit will be free next week, so that's the only thing I have to pay for going forward. But outside of that, everything else is okay. But it's been an interesting week. I will say that it's been very, very interesting to say the least, because of the fact that this is a new era, if you will, for the bus routes and everything. And it's going to get some mixed reactions, especially with how things are set up and all that. And I guarantee you, before this year is out, they're going to be like, okay, we hear you. We'll add an additional hour here on the 45. We'll add something here, for this route. And now they're going to make some changes to where they're going to be like, okay, we made a mistake. We'll do this, to fix that mistake. Because, right now it might seem okay, more streamlined and all that. But at the end of the day, it's not a good move on their part to go this route, if you know what I mean. But outside of that, I'm still able to get to work, and that's the benefit. I thank the Lord for that. And and I prayed about this when after I got out early yesterday. I prayed about it. My mom prayed with me after I got home yesterday about it. So everything's gonna be fine. I'm leaving it up to God. And as I was mentioning, I think before my recording limit came up, and I think I mentioned this earlier, I don't think I'm alone in leaving work early because of reasons. Just very important, significant reasons. I've seen team leaders, leave work and such, for reasons earlier than usual, important reasons. Either they had appointments, at doctors or dentists or wherever, or they had to get to a concert, at a certain time, an event or whatever, or maybe they were sick. Same thing with my fellow attendees, associates. It's not, and only God knows the truth about this, but it's not the first time this has happened, and again, only God knows the truth to it, but I'm sure he knows it's not the first time, it's happened, and, I cannot be singled out or anything because, all I'm trying to do is get home, before, it gets dark, and, basically use the cheapest method of doing so, if you want the more affordable method. But, he does understand that if I have to take Lyft and all that, at the end of the day, I will have to take it. Like maybe I'm going to have to take it next week on the 2 days I work till about 7:30 and 7:45, and that's fine. If I have to do it then, that's fine, not an issue. It's just, it's just the fact that, hopefully this will be this week upcoming, and maybe the week after will be the last weeks I have to really deal with that, because again, all I have to do is explain, because I left a note for the team leader that does the scheduling. I left a note for her in my best handwriting, which is not the best. I obviously take off after my father in that I had to leave early, bus route changed, and I have to now have a schedule change to 4:15, 4:45 between those time frames to at least catch a bus to the transit center to board the 45 home, if you will. So that's basically basically what I have to re-explain to her. And again, it's not the best handwriting, but at least I let her know. And I did leave her like brochures and everything of what the schedule is going to be like upcoming, and all that. So hopefully she'll get the idea. The benefit I will say about this is, as I've mentioned and alluded to before in previous videos, in live streams basically, is that now basically, I don't think you can really see it. Well, obviously you can't because the fence is blocking it. But the bus stop that's in that direction right over there, if you will, with that, I would say if you look at where the tower is, kind of lined up right there between that tower and the top of that house there, that's where the bus stop is that I take to go to work. The benefit now is not only do I go to that bus stop to board the bus to go to work, but I also am able to get dropped off at that bus stop because, as I mentioned before, they don't do Gustine anymore because Gustine is Merced County, and the Merced County bus, takes care of that area now instead of, the S bus. So basically I'm able to get dropped off, where I get picked up from, which means there's no need to get dropped off at Burger King anymore, which I think is one of the main reasons they probably decided, let's do this, because that way we don't have our drivers have to make any unnecessary stops, at places that are not official bus stops, but only safe zones. So that's probably one of the other reasons they did it. I also think the reason they did it as well, and I've mentioned this before, is to make sure that the bus drivers new, established, to make sure that they are always, on time, even if they're delayed by a few minutes, that they're always on time. They have no excuses to basically, fidget around and screw around. That basically they're on track, and that's it. The other difference as well is, as I mentioned, we don't go down straight. We don't go straight down to the park on Highway 33 anymore. Instead, we go to the area where essentially, basically, we would go from that area in reverse to go to Newman. Now we go down that area to go to the park area, basically, and then from the park area, we go down. Basically, it's the route that goes to Newman, but in reverse, if you will. So what happens is now, we go in that area in reverse to the park, and then from the park, basically we go to Turlock, if you will, and then that switches over, and then the bus that switches over, like I've mentioned, to another bus route, and then the bus that comes from whatever route it's at switches over to 45, and then that goes from there to Patterson, if you will. It goes to Patterson, if you will. It goes down, basically, to the park. It goes to the park like usual, but it doesn't stop there, for like a break for the riders or anything like that. I mean, if they're ahead of themselves, yes, but not really. Then they go from the park, and instead of turning around, if you will, to go down towards like Sperry Road and everything to go to Walmart, instead what they do is they go and they park, but when they pull out, they go around the roundabout of the square, and then right down First Street to get to the back of Las Palmas. You know, where like there's like a little mini shopping center there. They go from there to behind Walmart, and they go from Walmart straight down Sperry again, or right down Sperry again, to basically, if you will, you know, they go from Sperry to basically straight to Newman. That's essentially what they do. It's basically a little changed up, a little bit more complicated, but in the end, it's worth it, in my opinion. It's really worth it. But anyway, that's pretty much what's been going. That's pretty much what's been happening from, you know, my perspective. You know, going to work and bus riding and all that. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple of days since this new route started, and really that's all I can say. But that's about it, guys. Just wanted to do this little channel update vlog for you. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Love to hear from each and every one of you. You will get a podcast version of this maybe down the line. But until next time, I will talk to y'all later.